What is up guys, Andy Forrest, Steam Runner here, and today we're going to be talking about how to recover from a marathon. A very fitting intro clip there, as I'm sure you'll agree. That was mile 1.8 at the Abingdon Marathon, and then of course the final 100 meters finished to the end on the track. Now, I contemplated making this video a week or two ago and hesitated, but after seeing this video, which I've got to thank Tim, one of the viewers, for finding this. Thank you, Tim. You dropped a comment and let me know that another viewer had put this video up. It just kind of showed what my body went through during the marathon. So it kind of highlighted to me the importance of recovery, what I've been doing over the last 3 weeks, leading into the start of full training again next week, and kind of some points I wanted to discuss with you. There are of course a few caveats with this. I'm not a running coach. Take all this with a pinch of salt. These are my opinions, of course, and this is kind of geared towards the runners that have really focused on the marathon and made it their A goal. This isn't geared towards the runners who I'm very jealous of, but just run on a regular basis, use marathons as long runs, and just keep going week after week. You know, recovery from a marathon that you really put some effort into is key, in my opinion. It's vital. So I want to share 5 tips with you guys. Some are obvious, some are my own personal preference, that might help you guys recover from your marathon. But of course, it's absolutely hammering it down. So we'll wait till we get back inside. Okay, back in the warm and dry now. So let's jump into the points. Tip number 1, of course, is going to be make sure you take suitable recovery after your marathon. For me, I like to take 3 weeks of recovery. That includes a full week of rest. In this particular scenario, after the Abingdon Marathon that I've run, it was actually 6 days, not 7, because I wanted to jump in to my local park run. I'd never run a park run before, so I took 6 full days off, but normally 7, and then I have 2 very light weeks of running. So for me, and to give you guys a bit of context, I tend to average between 40 and 60 miles a week, depending on where I am in a training cycle. And the last couple of weeks I've just run 25 miles, and they've been a combination of 1 week has had 4 runs in it, the other has had 3 runs, and they've been very light and easy running. And I've done a couple of efforts in there, one being the Seven Bridge 5 mile night race, which was 5 miles worth of effort, and the other was of course the park run that we came back to. And other than that, everything has been completely easy. Now within that week off in the beginning, the first 6 days, and I do this across any marathon recovery period that I do, I always make sure I walk a lot. I do find that even though it's really important to just rest and let your body recover and just kind of mentally check out of running, that walking really helps keep things active. There's nothing strenuous, but it keeps things moving, keeps blood flowing to the areas that might be sore, might be stiff, and you might be suffering for some DOMs over the sort of the Monday and the Tuesday after the marathon. For me, it normally peaks Tuesday to get the worst pains in the legs. It's just the worst stiffness. But after that, this time in particular with Abingdon, I was kind of ready to run after the Wednesday, but patience of course is key. So tip number 1, as always, make sure you take suitable rest. And following on from tip number 1, tip number 2 is of course to ease back into things gently. As I've just said, the last couple of weeks for me have been very gentle and easy on the legs in terms of mileage. It's great fun to do something a little bit different for me. As I said, I had the Seven Bridge night race and I had the park run to go and try myself out at, but on the whole, I've just been keeping things easy. I managed to get a holiday run in there. I've just been doing some different routes and just been having fun out on the trails. For me, that has been the key, keeping it gentle. Ultimately, in that first week of rest and recovery, you're kind of trying to check out, but keeping focused. For me, if I make sure I check out mentally, well, then the second I step foot out the door for my first run, I am on fire in terms of wanting to progress, wanting to push on, wanting more running. So I know that I'm mentally back in the right state, but I make sure that I kind of hold myself back and let my body get back to things gently, because ultimately marathon training can take its toll, and although I didn't do too much specific marathon training this time around, I had a lot of weeks build up to this, doing shorter distance and middle distance in terms of 10Ks and half marathons, and then of course we had a couple of big weeks leading up to the marathon. So it was just really important just to ease back into things gently, let your body find its feet before embarking on another training plan. So for me in particular, week number 4 is the week that I'm going to be kicking back into things. So as I said, tip number 2, ease back into it gently. Okay guys, so tip number 3 is all about shoe choice. In this time around, I'm really finding that running in the more highly cushioned shoes is really helping my legs in these first couple of weeks ready to feel fresh leading into week number 4 to start smashing another training block. So normally, obviously, I do my best to stick to the trails. I have to do a bit of concrete running on the dark mornings. It is what it is, but where I can get out on the trails, I will. And so that this time around, combined with some nice cushioned shoes, has been an absolute dream to run on. My legs feel absolutely great, and they are 100% ready now to start kind of getting annihilated again with those speed workouts and the shorter, sharper distance training. For me, in that sort of shoe rotation, that means I've been reaching for the New Balance Propels and the Beacon 2s. The Beacon 2s have been getting a lot of use lately. Been actually really enjoying those, and I've now finally broken the 100-mile barrier in those. But on the whole, those 2 shoes are the ones I've been reaching for, and in particular, I've gone for the Rincons on the 2 speedy efforts that I've done. I've decided to omit the Nike Zoom Flies at the moment because I do find that they have less sort of cushioning and more propulsion, trying to get you to move faster. Whereas the Rincons, they want you to move fast, but they are nice and highly cushioned. So guys, shoe choice is important in this stage. Okay guys, so tip number 4, and this is a bit of a personal preference for me, but I do like to get myself a sports massage during those 3 weeks. I don't tend to do it in the first week just because my muscles are a bit too sore, but over the coming weeks, or the sort of second 2 weeks, I do like to try and fit in a sports massage where I can. Ultimately, you saw my body at the end of the Abingdon Marathon there in that clip. It was absolutely in pieces, and as you start to cramp and as you start to, your form starts to go, so your muscles start to not tighten up. And the last thing you want to do is start another training block with any of those niggles hanging around. So for me, it's really key to kind of almost go from head to toe and pay for someone to come and give you an all-over sports massage. For me, my neck and my back are something that I do suffer with, and I do believe that that contributes to some of my stitch and diaphragm issues. But on the whole, my legs were in absolute pieces. I was privileged enough to get a sports massage this week, and I feel absolutely great from it. Legs had knots in them like golf balls. And for me, if I'd have gone into next week with a new training plan ready to go, and then I start putting my foot down on some 2-minute intervals and find that I've got some massive knots in my legs because I can feel that coming back, that is just the worst feeling, because ultimately you're then going to disrupt what you've already started, and it's just a pain. Get it sorted now so that you are fresh and ready for the upcoming training block. And finally guys, tip number 5, just keep things easy and keep things fun. If you are going to do any sort of intensity like I've done a couple of bits, make sure it's for a jolly good reason. At the end of the day, make sure you're having fun doing it. For me, I had a great laugh at Park Run. It was just good fun to go and do. And the Seven Bridge Night Race was a fantastic rustbuster race. Get those legs turning over. But ultimately, I had an absolute blast doing those things. And in between times, I've just taken myself out on the trails, had some great fun, and just explored and done some different things, and just literally hit that reset button on the mind. And the marathon is such a big deal for all of us, and it can mentally drain us, not just physically but mentally, and a lot of us lose our mojo after a marathon. For me, the key at that point is to switch up distances and to jump back to something shorter, like I did after Newport earlier in the year, and it's exactly what I'm going to be doing now leading into winter. For me, not only but switching distances, but making things fun straight after the marathon is key to getting that mojo back and getting yourself in the right mental mindset to attack, as I said, the upcoming training block if you are like me and going to be jumping into something new. Keeping it fun and easy is something we should always remember to do during running. I think sometimes we can all get lost in our training plans, but ultimately after a marathon, when we need that mental reset, if any time is the time to do it. So there you go, guys. Those are my top 5 tips on recovering from a marathon. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are, of course. If you've got anything that you like to do after a marathon, make sure you leave it in the description or the comments below, I should say. Love reading your comments at the moment. Your support is absolutely fantastic. And any other points you want to chip in with, make sure you let me know down below. So if you enjoyed this video, guys, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, get excited for another shoe review next week, and I'll see you on the next one. Until then.